Welcome to the Louchen Bros podcast. This show is hosted by Brian Louchen.
And I'm Kevin Louchen.
And we're bros who talk about nerd stuff.
I'm here to talk to you about this movie we're doing today. We're covering the Reservoir Dogs, and it was a very exciting movie.
I was wondering how long you were going to keep that up for.
I mean, I can still do this. I don't think I'll do a whole episode. But no, we're covering the classic Tarantino film. Today, it is a movie about a group of men kind of being thrown together, that they don't know each other, and they're going to try to do a diamond heist. However, it goes bad, and they're kind of left to scramble and meet at this rendezvous place, and here is where they kind of try to figure out what the hell happened, and their suspicion of a cop, and just trying to eventually get away and everything. So that's it, kind of summed up as usual. But I mean, Brian, you want to start? Go ahead, you can start.
Yeah, I mean, I can go ahead and start. I know this is critically acclaimed by a lot of people, and I guess one of the most famous independent films that was ever created. I've been on the fence with this one, honestly, Kevin, because I'm definitely a visual person. The story of telling of this was non-linear, so they kind of jumped around and that sort of thing, and it came from the perspective of, well, they're not mobsters. They are basically heisters.
They're hired hands.
Hired hands,
kind of. But they're not.
Job.
Yeah, but they're not like, they're, I guess, mercenaries in a sense. But they're kind of like, just scoundrel is not quite the word, because they're not necessarily bad people. They're just fucking thieves for the most part.
Yeah, they were thieves. And so it was definitely different, and maybe that's, I don't know, that rubbed me the wrong way as far as, I feel like it was definitely, like I said, a different way of kind of the storytelling that I'm not necessarily used to. I think having the actual scenes of the actual heist probably would have added it for me, or more locations. But that was kind of the way this story was done, right? Because they were telling it from the perspective of different people.
Oh, okay. Can I jump in right there?
Yeah,
absolutely. Just because of what you said. So, I am a Tarantino fan. I don't think I've seen his most recent work, but I've seen, I think, most of his works at some point. He has a way about him, and he is very notorious for being known as a very kind of, he's an artsy producer and director and all that jazz. So he really has an element to it versus just Hollywood putting out Hollywood stuff. So his cinema style was not surprising to me. This isn't the first movie I've watched by him. Actually, I did watch Pulp Fiction first.
Yeah, which I heard a lot of people have gone back and watched this one after Pulp Fiction, but this one actually came out before, right?
So I'll cover that a little later about the origins of this a little bit. But I actually did not like this the very first time I watched it back when I was probably a teenager. I think it was a mindset thing, because it is a certain thing, as you were alluding to, which was I was talking. And you mentioned he didn't have the heist in, but I pointed that out with the Tarantino and artsy is because it was done intentionally.
Yeah.
All right. And that's the thing, is he is a director that is going to do things very intentionally in his film. Like, he does a lot homages and certain specific details. That is what he's about. So if it's in it, it's intentional, and that is actually why I really enjoy his films. So the first time I watched it, I didn't like it. So this time I think I actually did watch it a second time at some point. I don't remember. At the first time I didn't finish it. Second time I watched it, I don't remember when it was. It was probably at least a decade ago or longer. And I do remember finishing it because I kind of remembered the end of the movie, even though I didn't remember the end of the movie. You know what I mean? And so this time was kind of like a refresher. And it's, I don't know, maybe I'm at an age where I can see certain details differently and experiences. So this one, I was able to, I feel like, fully encompass it, but I think it goes back to it's an art, and I always said that, and that's why I do love it. But because it's an art, it's sometimes a mental state that you have to be ready for. There's a certain period you have to be ready for, and just it's not appreciated by everyone. So you have to just kind of really understand that. But I think people don't look at it as an art most of the time, because most of the time it's not presented as art. Most of the time it's just presented as, oh, this is just an action film with explosions. Oh, this is just a superhero movie, and that's it. But when you actually get films that do it as an art, romantic movies. Oh, he just loves her and blah, 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 stuff like that. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It was just very important to point out it's an art, and that is why that is. And so he intentionally left out the heist scene. One, they said because of money, and two, because he wanted that ambiguity to keep you guessing and really focus on the dialogue, focus on the other scenes, focus on the aftermath. So I'm sorry. I thought that was really important to point out.
No, that was a perfect way to kind of describe it, and that's fine with the art. To me, it just felt like it dragged on a bit too long, in my opinion. But if we talk about the tone of the movie, I mean, there's a ton of blood, violence, vulgar language, and Kevin's favorite word, mo murder.
Mo murder. Go ahead.
No.
Oh, okay. All right. As I said, I watched it again, and I think I was ready for it this time. So it was a lot better for me mentally processing all the scenes and everything. I think the style, I love Tarantino's style. I love that he jumps around. I mean, I think we previously talked about it on Project Hail Mary, like how they had a balance of the past and the present kind of thing. I think there are plenty of movies that do that. There's this one movie that's really crazy. I remember watching it way back then. I'll have to try to look to show you. They start from the end and work all the way back to the front.
Is it like Memento or something?
No. Memento's different. We could talk about that later. But no, like they do a 10-minute scene and then a 10-minute scene and a 10-minute scene. And if you played it outright and forward, it would look like a normal linear movie, but they do it almost chunks in reverse. It's actually really interesting just because you know the end. There's like a crazy rape scene, and it pissed me off, like in a way that you're supposed to. It wanted to do that. Like it wasn't bad. It was like good that it got that reaction. Anyways, so I love Tarantino films because I love how he kind of does it, but it's the little details, the dialogue he uses. He starts in the opening scene where they're just sitting at a table. He takes the mundane parts of life and gives it character, gives it the relevance that you, me, and everybody else just sits around and does. And that's what he adds. But he does add the specific details because he wants certain things to talk about. Like when they're sitting on there, there's what is it? The five guys, the dad and the son. They're sitting there and they're just bullshitting, talking about Madonna's like a virgin, and Tarantino's character is basically saying, "Yeah, she's a whore," which I thought was funny.
Even before that, they were talking about whether. I can't remember. I think it was Mr. Pink. If he should tip or not.
No, that was like right around the same era, and I think that came towards the end. So I think that, yeah, but no, you're right. Like even tipping, talk about mundane stuff, and I started really having this thought process when I was writing down my notes. We're gonna get to a point where I don't think normal conversations like that were presented in this are going to be normal because of the way technology is. I don't think people know how to communicate in the same fashion they used to. I think communication is going down the drain. Like people just having conversations just to have conversations don't happen because it's text messages or emails or everything else. It's like communicating in the physical personal form is going out the window.
That's a good point, Kevin, because like catching up with an old friend or even family members, before before mobile communication, essentially, you had to call by a phone or you had to schedule a time to actually meet up if you wanted that quality time and connection, right? Nowadays, it's just like, oh, let me see what they're doing on Facebook. Let me send them a Snapchat, and you don't have that quality in-person connection or even that voice communication anymore.
It's not that the actual conversation, the information isn't relayed back and forth. It's the manner of which it does. It's the in the moment change, the topic bouncing around. I can talk with some people and we bounce topics left and right. And then there's other people where like they just don't do that. So when you can answer something at your convenience, you can really just do that in the moment. But it's also an easier reason why people just blow things off because it's like, well, I don't have to talk to this person, blah, blah, blah. So I think when I was thinking about it, I'm like, this version of a conversation, which is to me what he thinks as just kind of a regular conversation, and that's how I see it. And you see it in all of his films. All of his films have something like this. I think this in a form is, I shouldn't say going away, but it's almost becoming a novelty because people don't know how to communicate as they used to, in my opinion. So it was just a weird, interesting thought. So I as I mentioned, I like the flashbacks, so that was fun. But even the rendezvous point, like most of the whole film was filmed right there in this building.
It was a warehouse, I think. Right?
Yeah, it was some sort of warehouse. It might have been a crematory or something like that. In real life, I don't know if they were pointing at that. Either way, it's like that's all it was. It was the same stuff. But even some of his camera angles, some of his just interpretation. Like there's the one scene where Buscemi and Keitel are in the kitchen kind of cleaning up right when it first happened, and the camera's hanging down from the hallway looking down and into that. Like that's intentional. You know what I mean? He's getting a different perspective of like almost like just kind of real life normal things, but also it's just you don't see that view too often, and I enjoy that. And when I see that, like, because you're just so used to almost having it the room, but when you're actually a person in life, you're not looking always at the whole room. Sometimes you just have your angle, So seeing some things like that are just really interesting. But the dialogue, there's so much more going on here, which we can cover as we go. But it's not just that; the details, his story itself is so it's so intricate sometimes, and usually you're going to be left with a side twist or cliffhanger, and I do love that about his film. So this was an early version of it, and I couldn't be, for that aspect, I'm very pleased is what I would say. I'll get into some more detail. I just didn't know if you want to come in and cover anything specifically.
I mean, not anything specifically. I do agree with you on the visuals aspect of it. It took place mainly in the warehouse, but the scenes where, again, which character was it? Where was it? Vic Vega goes out to his trunk twice, and they go outside, or they go, like you said, in that kitchen area to wash off the bloods off the hand. Obviously, that was intentional, where you're leaving that main, I guess you could say, shot area where they shot most of the actual film. So I definitely think that was impactful. That's more visual effects, I think, than the storytelling aspect, but that does tie into the storytelling of making those scenes impact.
But I think that's part of the film as a whole, as an art. I guess it's visuals in a sense, but I don't know that I'd call it special effects. Like the camera angle from inside the trunk, looking up at the men. I'm not saying he's the first to do that. That would be a lie to try to say that he's the first to do that, because I don't know. But it isn't seen a lot. You know what I mean? So the choices are being made intentionally, and I do appreciate that. So it gives you the same thing. He did it in other stuff, like Pulp Fiction. You never see what's in the briefcase. You always just see the golden light. Like, there's choices that are made for reasons, and I appreciate that. But, like, even within the story itself, the flashbacks are done intentionally in the order they're done. You learn about the characters, Mr. White, Harvey Keitel's character, Mr. Orange. You learn about him last, and then Mr. Blonde. You learn about him second. Because at the time you're learning about Mr. Blonde's kind of sadistic character. Mr. White's kind of the main character per se. And then, of course, Mr. Orange is where you get the plot twist where he's the actual cop, and that comes out. So then they save it for later so they don't spoil it early. So, obviously it was used in a good way. But even details of the whole and Mr. Orange's scene where you're learning what a commode is and why it's used and what he's doing and seeing that repetitive nature where he's practicing the lines so he makes it his own, talking with his I guess superior officer guy when he's talking about how he's getting set up. Such a subtle detail. Long Beach Mike is his referral, and he's like, oh yeah, Long Beach Mike did us a solid, and then the guy's like, no, fuck Long Beach Mike, he's a piece of shit, he's just fucking copping out on everybody. And so it's like that's how a lot of mentality works, and that's why once again the dialogue is so good, because he uses real language, he uses real conversations, like the way he talked about it, which I got some quotes we can cover too. That's the best part. And he's gotten a lot of flack in a lot of his movies for using the N-word, right? Because people are like, oh, he shouldn't say that, it shouldn't be in the dialogue. That's the thing is, whether you want to admit it or not, it's conversation. I hear it all the time by lots of people. Some should be using it, some shouldn't, according to our standards, right? I won't get into some of that. It's just a negative word, but people put meaning on it, and it changes things. It's just like a word in the whole English language. So, but you've learned because of our history, it's always going to have the context. He puts those words in the movie, and it actually is in this movie and used in a very negative context. But that's the point. It's supposed to be. That's how some people are. Pieces of shit or not good people are going to use bad words, naughty words, and people just don't like it. Well, you got to get over it because you don't control other people. If they gave a shit, they probably wouldn't be robbing people. You know what I mean? Like, that's not how it works. So I love that he does that. I think that is perfect. So whether you want to criticize him or not, it doesn't make it not true. It does happen. It's still happening. It always has happened. I don't think it's ever going to go away, whether people want to realize it or not. So having this information and how it's transpired, I think he does a great job. But I'm ready to go in some quotes if you want to go into some of that.
Yeah, and I do have to agree. The dialogue and quotes in this movie, although vulgar, and it definitely had some pretty memorable quotes, and even just, again, some of the little things as far as giving each of the characters colors, so that way if they got found out, they didn't know each other's real names and stuff like
the
that.
plot, just the it was Mr. Blonde, Mr. White, Mr. Orange, Mr. Pink, there's Mr. Brown and Mr. Blue. Like, the idea of that, just the subtle details of that is like fucking amazingly perfect, and it's like, wow. Like, even in the middle of it, Mr. Orange, which is the cop, and Mr. White, Harvey Keitel's character, he talks about, they think they have a cop, a rat in a group, and they're trying to figure it out, and Mr. Pink is like, it's like, well, nobody knows each other's names, so whatever. He's like, well, I kind of told him my name. I thought he was dying, blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, you fucked up. Why are you doing that? And it's like, no, he's not a rat. And so this whole topic is pursuing early on until you finally find out, yeah, he is the rat. And so you know it, but then at the end, Harvey Keitel finds out that he actually was the cop the whole time. And it's like, holy fucking shit. Like, so you knew the twist was going to come. You just didn't know how. And then how he finds it, he's basically trying to help save his life. And he did, because, he shot the one guy for him and everything. Like, oh man, it's just kind of crazy how the plot played out. So, yeah, I'm sorry. Let's go ahead. We want to start with some quotes?
Yeah, we can do some quotes. So the first one I had was, I believe when it's kind of close to the. Oh no, you already kind of touched about this. The Madonna scene. Mr. Pink said she was okay. She wasn't anything special. Mr. Blue said, "What's special? Take you in the back and suck your dick?" Nice guy Eddie said, "I'd go over 12% for that." Mr. Brown, let me tell you what Like a Virgin is about. It's about a girl who digs a guy with a big dick. The entire song, it's a metaphor for big dicks. And there's a lot more.
Like that whole scene, like you can't, like that was such a great scene with all the dialogue. It's like you could almost quote the whole fucking scene, the way the words talked and every. Oh my god, like the performance. It was that one I just put in quotes that scene basically. Like it is just great. A little down the road, when you're learning a little bit about Vic Vega, which is Mr. Blue. No, Mr. Blonde, and he's friends with Eddie, which is the I don't know if he's a mob guy, but he's definitely a boss. He's the boss's son, and they're kind of talking shit to each other because they do know each other. And he's like, "Are you gonna bark all day like a little doggy, or are you gonna bite?" And then
I loved that
one. Like just like there's lots of good dialogue, but then certain the key ones like they just hit and a little bit extra. And then shortly after that, he goes on and as Eddie's talking shit, he goes, "Eddie, you keep talking like a bitch, I'm gonna slap you like a bitch." Like that is good stuff. Like you're talking like that's how a fucking macho guy is gonna want to talk and kind of just address the situation. So, and then they fucking start wrestling on the ground and shit like that. So, I was surprised the fucking boss guy was just like, the boss guy Joe was just like, yeah, they're just fighting in my office. Like they weren't fucking playing either. Like it was good, like good acting. You know.
Well, then he eventually said something to kind of
eventually.
Well, I love as I iterated to earlier with the name giving and stuff like that. And
that was
Mr.
good.
Pink was given his name. Well, why am I Mr. Pink? And Joe says, "Because you're a faggot, all right." And he also talked about Mr. Brown was like, "That sounds like shit," and it was pretty funny as far as
he's like, let me be Mr. White, and he could be Mr. Pink. He's like, I don't care. And he's like, no, that's not how this works. And it's like, yeah, I think that's a regular conversation you'd have because some guy might be not like being called Pink. You know what I mean? So yeah, you could see that transpiring. A little more down the road, as Vic Vega's got the cop in the trunk. He's like, and they're trying to like, hey, come on outside. I got something out there. And they're kind of that scene. He's like, guess what? I think I'm parked in the red zone. It's just the way it came off is hilarious. And then down the road more, when Mr. Orange was talking with his officer buddy, he's like, you remember the Fantastic Four? And the officer guy goes, yeah, with that invisible bitch. Like that just like caught me by surprise and it made me laugh. But I just see the conversations happening is like how I would be just talking with a buddy. It just flowed naturally. It was smooth and just it's a way of really capturing the mundaneness of life, but it's just so realistic and relatable, and so specific details he's covering. I thought it was fucking phenomenal. So that's all the active quotes I have.
There was one last quote I had after Mr. Orange got shot. And I believe it is when they were in the car, when he was in the car with Mr. White, or it could have been later on when they were back in the warehouse. But Mr. Orange was saying, "I'm a tough guy, Larry." It reminded me of the scene from Home Alone with whatchamacallit's character after he gets hit with all this shit and stuff like that. It was funny to me after being shot and trying to make sure he doesn't die out. And he's like, "I'm a tough guy, Larry." So, because I had a lot of the same quotes as you did. So.
I mean, there is one more, but it alludes to a later part that I'll discuss on it. So, I mean, at this point, if you want to talk now, out of everything we've talked, I've kind of gushed about it. But let me go back to kind of what you did say a little bit. The reason why the first time I didn't finish it, and maybe the second time it didn't resonate so much with me, is the pace. The pace itself, like you alluded to. It is kind of slow. So it starts off a little bit of draggy, in my opinion. The lack of details. It's just basically like, oh, there's a cop. Oh, somebody shot, and like they're making more of it than you actually feel in the moment. So it takes a little bit to get the ball rolling, but once it's rolling, once you start hitting in the flashbacks and all that, excuse me, I think it is much. It picks up to the point where it's a lot better. But yeah, the opening pace is a little like subtle, chaotic, kind of just almost unexciting to the degree where it almost. I think that's why the first time I checked out, I'm like, what are we doing here? So, but yeah, outside of that, I don't have any more comments for the kind of story and the plot.
You ready to rate this?
Let's do this.
All right, I'm going thumbs middle.
I'm gonna go about a 45 up. Just because I think, despite the slowness of it, I think everything else is so fucking good. So, moving forward, we're gonna jump into the cast. All right, I'm gonna kind of just read some names if that works for you. And we'll just do that first, and then we can circle back. Does that work for you? You want to go one by one?
I mean, this had an all-star cast, so
yes.
However you wanted to.
Okay, you know what? Let me start with this tidbit. Okay, so I didn't do crazy amount of research, but sometimes I come across things. So I was like, if this is Quentin Tarantino's first film, which is pretty high caliber film for a first film, I was wondering, how the hell do you just get a gig directing it right off the back with these names, as you're alluding to? So what happened was Quentin Tarantino and his producer Lawrence Bender, they had this together written. And at some point, I think they were going to finance it. They were going to do a lot of the scenes with themselves or whatever. But apparently, they had the film. Bender showed his acting teacher. His acting teacher, his wife, she gave it to Keitel. And apparently at this point, Keitel loved it so much he wanted to co-produce it. And then he even paid for the auditions. Now, you see who's in the movie. Let's understand. These are some of the other actors. Now, this is 1992. These are some of the other actors that did go in for an audition and didn't land a role. Viggo Mortensen, George Clooney, Samuel L. Jackson, David Duchovny. Like, holy shit. This was a fucking cast. I don't know in 92, like when I even read those names, I don't know that all of these people are as highly touted as they are now. But even now, knowing they have the acting chops they did and who they were looking for, that's fucking crazy.
Yeah, and they all interviewed for the same part for Mr. Pink, along with John Cryer, who was, I believe...
Yeah, John Cryer. He was supposed to be somebody, and then he had to...
Yeah, he backed out, and then James Wood was also considered, but his agent turned it down without telling him.
Yeah.
So, and I think that might have been a good thing for Tarantino, because he worked with, some of those people later on, so...
Exactly, like, obviously Samuel L. Jackson, but like, so Harvey Keitel is Mr. White. He's kind of the main focus, even though it's spread pretty well throughout.
Dude, I loved him in National Treasures, the FBI special agent. That's where I remember him the most from.
I actually remember him the most. The first time I remember seeing is in Pulp Fiction, where he helps out Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta, and I remember him driving off in the Acura. Oh, that's such a pretty car, the NSX. Anyways, but no, I remember that it was just that's how when I first most remember him. But yeah, he's obviously done a ton of movies. He's still alive. God bless him. I think he's like 87. I was like, man, I always thought he was way older even back then. But I guess if he's 80, so he's 50s then, that probably checks about. But yeah, phenomenal actor, always has been, always will be. I think he was great for that role because he's got that he's got that essence of like, he can be a bad person but still be a good person. You know what I mean? He's got that kind of feel about him that I think he plays super well. Mr. Orange is played. His character is the Freddy guy, Neuendwyer. He's played by Tim Roth. Tim Roth is a fan favorite, I think, of Quentin Tarantino. He uses him in Pulp Fiction, but I just think he is. He actually was trying to be, I think, Mr. Pink or somebody else at first, but he thought it would be better to play Mr. Orange because I think he's British, playing an American, playing a cop who's playing a bad guy is how they said it. So I think he's just a great actor. I mean, he's kind of got that. I don't want to say goody two shoes, but for the lack of better, other phrasing, I think that was great. Mr. Blonde was played by Vic Vega. Michael Madsen. He, I don't think, wanted to play Mr. Blonde. I think he also wanted, maybe he wanted to be Mr. White or Mr. Orange. But holy fuck, he did a job because he was supposed to kind of be sadistic, which he was as a character, and he did a phenomenal job.
I liked him in Free Willy.
I don't remember him in Free Willy.
He was the dad.
I definitely don't remember that.
Yeah, I had to look it up, and yeah, I definitely. Free Willy.
Don't bring it up. Don't you fucking dare. Mr. Pink was played by Steve Buscemi, which he's morphed over time, but he did well there too. I think
he's a fucking legend, bro.
I think that's the thing is he always, because he doesn't have a big physically imposing stature, he's always been like kind of, I don't want to say weasel, but like kind of this pushover, this kind of almost cuck or beta, for lack of a better way of explaining it.
I feel like he always takes kind of like the oddball parts in different movies, like Happy Gilmore or Con Air or whatever. He'll take those interesting parts, and I feel like he
does great. But but up until I can't remember the show at the moment, but he played Nucky Thompson in the HBO series. The Boardwalk Empire. That's the first time that I can recall, and I think I even remember reading that he played like the alpha, the main role. Everything else, he's been a side character and everything like that. He does such a good job with it. Like, it's not like he's underperforming. He just, like I said, I think the way he gets presented, maybe the way he comes off as, he's not like that focal point of a show. But I think even in then, if you got a good enough character and story, he could do it. Absolutely. Because, like if he's playing a super crazy action star, no, I don't know that he's going to be able to take those reins and people are going to buy it. But in a character like Nucky Thompson, he's a politician that's basically running things like kind of, i.e., like a mob boss. That's very doable. Mob bosses don't have to be fucking big time. They just have to know how to wield power and all that. And so that's...
I never actually saw Boardwalk Empire, but it was really
very good.
The point is he maximizes his time as an actor. Like, whether he gets 5 minutes of screen time or 15 minutes, he's making the best of that time.
Absolutely.
And I think he kills it every single time.
Absolutely. Like, he's awesome. Nice guy, Eddie Cabot, is played by Chris Penn. I've seen him in a couple different movies. For sure. One of the ones that stand out the most is because of he played in the movie Corky Romano, and he ends up being gay in that movie, which like was kind of weird. Like, it was weird funny for him because it's not like something he normally has been, because he normally plays like a tough guy in this. But I also remember that's one of the first times I ever heard somebody call somebody a mook, and I fucking love that word. But no, he was actually really good, especially when Mr. Orange is trying to say that Mr. Blonde, Vic Vega's character, he got shot by Mr. Orange, and he's like, oh yeah, he was gonna fucking steal the diamonds, and Chris Penn is like, you talking about the guy who just did fucking time for us? Like that, like his passion and anger comes through fucking awesome. So I thought he did a great job. The last person I have on my list to cover, only because not necessarily the on-screen stuff as much, but the interesting about him, Joe Cabot. So he's played by Lawrence Tierney. So he actually did a really good role, in my opinion. He definitely gave the impression, like when they're talking about the colors, like you were talking about, but as well as the job itself, he's basically like fucking stop fucking around. It's work time. Like he really set the mood of the stage as far as that goes. Like, so I loved him as his role. He had that classic kind of vibe of like I said, a fucking guy running shit, kind of mob bossy. But it's the off-screen stuff. Apparently he was an asshole, like to the point that everybody that acted with him hated him. Like they were mad at him, and Tarantino ended up firing him.
I did hear about that.
And so what happened is when he was telling that, everybody was cheering. Like he was telling it as a whole. So like little digging, very little, but apparently he had a very horrible checkered past, drunk, like a potential suspect in a suicide. Like he was into some shit, and I don't really remember him, but it was also, he was like bigger time in the 50s and 60s and stuff like that. So I haven't seen a ton of that stuff, but so yeah, he apparently was not well liked by everyone, just causing problems and drama. I think was it Buscemi? Maybe Chris Penn said they like went to a restaurant and he fucking just stole a lamp and he was bragging about it on the car ride going somewhere. It's like, just, he's kind of one of those people, like, just, it was always around it and probably causing it half the time, if not more so.
I mean, yeah, if we talk about on screen, he did a phenomenal job. If we talk about off screen, it doesn't seem like he's the greatest of people. So.
No, well, the interesting thing is, right before his death, apparently, although Quentin Tarantino said he never wanted to work with him again, he apparently called him before his death, and they had a conversation, and they kind of hatched things out. And what is his name again? Lawrence was saying, that Quentin Tarantino guy, he's a good guy, or something like that. So I guess in the end, it kind of worked its way out for at least their relationship. But yeah, apparently he's kind of a piece of shit. So, but it was just an interesting tidbit when you get into finding out how, like, on screen they seem like the best of buds, like they got along super well, and then off screen you're like they hated him. Like, I always find that interesting. I don't know if you do or not.
Yeah, I mean, real life tends to poke its head out as far as being more true to than you think when it comes to certain things like that. A couple other small parts I want to touch upon. Quentin Tarantino did actually play Mr. Brown in this, which I thought was interesting. I also enjoyed the small part of the officer Marvin Nash who got his ear cut off. I thought he played a small little part well for his scene in it as well too. But yeah,
he did.
There was nothing about the casting that I did not like. I think everyone that had their part played their part to a T. They couldn't act out of this any better.
Yeah, I agree. So perfect casting, even if you consider the alternatives that would have been fucking probably pretty good. I don't know if it gives the exact same feel, but still.
All right,
let's go ahead.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid thumbs up for me. All right, so moving forward, we're going to go to sound effects, the best category of all time. Honestly, I have one thing here, and it's going to maybe not be too surprising. It's the scene where Vic Vega is getting ready to cut off the cop's ear, and he does it. The song Stuck in the Middle with You, and maybe it's more about the acting process and how he does it, but he's just so casual and just having fun with it, kind of even singing the song, and it gives super hardcore vibes of, oh, this guy's a fucking psychopath, and I absolutely love it. It is phenomenal. Outside of that, I don't have anything crazy.
Yeah, and even Tarantino said in regards to that, he wanted it to be a counterpoint to the on-screen violence and action with that scene specifically. So he wanted,
even though he's about to cut off an ear, like, and be violent.
He wanted that 1950s feel while using 70s music. So that was definitely a prominent song during the torture scene. The other song that I did like was "Hooked on a Feeling."
Yes,
I had that. So those are the two memorable songs.
like I mean, obviously that's a good song as well. Not that we're judging the songs here. It's more just about how the scene hits me and if it does hit me or not. Like, there's plenty of things that have good music there, but whether or not, I guess when I'm watching it, which can be obviously subjective as well when I watch it, if it resonates one way or the other with me. But that one, fucking, that's a scene. You know what I mean? So outside of that, you want to go ahead and rate this bad boy?
Yeah. I'm going slightly thumbs up.
Mid. They had one good scene. It was an original song, although a very good song. So I'm just kind of mid. But that scene, like I said, I think that was more about the acting scene necessarily than the song and everything else. So moving forward, we're going to go to the special effects. Honestly, it was not loaded with special effects. No surprise. I think at least half of the film was shot in that one building, so you didn't need to do anything. They didn't really do the diamond heist. The special effects was like Steve Buscemi running away at the time. You had a little bit of cops and everything going at, which you could mimic the sounds and the chase, so to say. You had Tarantino's character gets shot at and everything in the car, and he dies in there, Mr. Brown. And there is blood in the scene. The blood looks pretty good. Especially, at an early, I don't want to say low quality, but not a high budget film other than maybe the actors. But even then, like I said, maybe outside of Keitel and a couple, maybe others, it wasn't a huge, like Steve Buscemi even then wasn't like crazy known. So I don't want to say it was on a budget, but I would say just a bunch of great actors, maybe not to the fully known potential yet. But I thought but even the blood looked good. I think the biggest special effects I think you saw outside of the blood, because there was a lot of it from Tim Roth's character, I thought was the ear, because you didn't really see, I don't remember really seeing the ear, but the aftermath I remember seeing, and that looked really fucking good. I don't know how you felt about it.
It was pretty damn fucking gruesome. So
and there's a line where he's like, "Hey, can you hear me?" Whatever, where he's talking into the scene. Once again, there's not the sound effects, the visual of him talking to the ear, Mr. Bond, and just adding to the psychopathic nature of what he is. I mean, that was fucking crazy. And then just remembered now where Tim Roth was trying to say he'd already killed him, and he's trying to say to Eddie, he's like, yeah, he's fucking turning. And he was fucking acting crazy. He was going to kill me and this cop. You mean he's like, this cop? This one right here? And he pulls out his pistol and shoots the fucking cop anyways. It's like, yeah, he doesn't give a shit about the cop. The cop was going to die. But yeah, obviously Tim Roth does, because he is a cop. So, no, as far as special effects, it all looked pretty good. That you saw, it was a way of minimizing some of that, but adding, because it's not the sole focal point of the movie. It's the details, the dialogue, the interactions. That's where the focal point is. So I think by limiting the special effects, you can more focus on the other aspects of it.
Yeah, and we talked earlier, even if I don't even talk about special effects, but the visuals and the editing, which Kevin kind of mentioned a lot earlier with the flashback scenes, that was done very well in regards to the movie. As far as, like, again, the warehouse scenes, they were filmed, Kevin, I think you mentioned this, in an unused mortuary.
Yeah. With
caskets, funeral equipment, embalming fluid, and a hearse. Mr. Orange's apartment was actually a room on the second floor of that mortuary, and it was set to look like living quarters, and it's been demolished since then, so you can't, like, go visit it or anything. The film actually has different homages to other films. Which
lots
and
lots.
The ideas of the costumes came from a discussion from Tarantino and the costume designer about French noir films with Alan Delon.
Oh, wearing the suits?
Yep.
Oh,
there was, and that was definitely one thing about this movie. They had so many different homages to a lot of different movies, where Tarantino kind of made it his own, kind of combining all the stuff that he liked.
And this is his first film, which is why you probably are going to get a lot of heavy doses of it. It's his early stage where he's showing a lot of his influences early on.
Yeah, definitely. And his decision not to film the diamond robbery was twofold: for budgetary reasons and to keep the details of the heist ambiguous, which again was clearly a decision to obviously do it that way to kind of tell the actual overall story in an art form, like Kevin mentioned too. By not showing that and having the characters describe it, Tarantino explained the film is allowed to be discussed, described, and debated, but never shown. Which, again, that visual storytelling was definitely unique for sure. I would have to agree.
Yeah, so I mean, even if they ended up showing like a couple cut scenes of the heist, I think it gets to the point, if you start doing that, why not show the whole thing? You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna show parts of it, just show the whole thing. I think that they just literally showed the not even the pre to the highest degree, really. That at one point it's Keitel and Tim Roth in the car, and they're casing the joint. But outside of that, there's nothing pre other than like them talking, assumingly at the breakfast before they do it, and then the post. And the post scene, you get Buscemi's chase scene, as well as you get Keitel and Roth, with Tarantino leaving, and then they leave him and then running. So it's really more about talking about it, which, like I said, so I think I'm ready to cover this unless you got more.
No, that's where, again, the kind of the pacing in different areas kind of dragged on a little bit. And like you said, they could have just showed the scene, but then, so again, that's where I've been kind of like on the fence as far as with that. But anyhow, yeah, I'm ready to rate it.
So as far as special effects go, all right, let's go ahead.
Well, not just special effects, visuals, wardrobe, editing. I'm going to go slightly thumbs up.
I'm going mid. It didn't have a lot. It didn't need a lot, but it just, because it was nothing special, I'm just at a midpoint, and then of course, last part, as far as like, rewatchability and in connection with the viewer. I think this is a film that has a cult kind of following to a degree, not as culty as some of the other ones. But, I mean, it's just a great art film in essence, because it does have the uniqueness of Tarantino's style, which to me is a very high quality art film that he produces. And I think because of that, it's just, when he puts it out, it's just high quality. With that said, I don't know that I love this film, and I don't know that it's going to be one of those things that I really am engaged with, want to keep following up, because although the details in the art is unique, the movie as a whole, with the pacing and kind of the lack of action, or not even action, just maybe changing of scenery to a degree. It's just in one place, which can be cool, but I guess the details coming in and the way it comes in a way, it doesn't really jump out as lovable. It's kind of like, but not lovable. So I'm not eager to watch it again, although I feel like, one, you still have to be in a mindset, and two, it is something that I learned more after watching it a couple of times. And there are still a couple films out there. Probably the biggest one that I still learn something every time is Donnie Darko, because that fucking movie's trippy. But every time I watch it, I feel like I find a new detail or find a new avenue, or maybe I'm just thinking differently in a different headspace. But I think this most recent time that I rewatched it was just really something that I'm like, okay, I think I got the gist of everything in pretty good details. I don't know that there is a ton of detail, because it's more about just the initial dialogue. And unless you're really some cinema fanatic where you want to, or dig into all of these like homages and everything like that, I think the film is super artsy in a good way, but it is still artsy, so it gets to the point where it's just not overly exciting for him, for me, I guess, from what he does.
No, I certainly agree. Definitely, like, the cast was done well.
Great.
Again, the
cast was great.
Yeah, the cast was definitely great. The usage of the story, the non-linear storytelling, that was great as well. A lot of people And even the violence of the actual movie, again, we talked about the ear cutting scene. That was just freaking crazy. And that's why this become a prominent film as far as in terms of the actual violence and the language and stuff like that, because again, this spawned a lot of different movies, I think, after it. This is also regarded as an important and influential milestone in, I guess, independent filmmaking. So on Rotten Tomatoes, they have an approval rating of 90%, where consensus says, thrumming with intelligence and energy, Reservoir Dogs opened Quentin Tarantino's filmmaking career with hard-hitting style. So, an Empire magazine named it the greatest independent film ever made. So, it is definitely highly touted. And again, if you look at the beginning of his actual career,
for a first film, that's fucking great.
That is fantastic. But as far as like rewatching, going back, I mean, again, took Kevin a couple times just to kind of piece it together, and for me, it was just like, okay, this is mid. They have some good aspects of it, but some other aspects where it's like it could have done better.
I wouldn't say it's just mid; it's above average, but it's not
above
great. Is how I look at it. There are such great aspects, but some of it is like he tends to focus on the mundane. So the fact that you can find the mundane interesting, and that's what some great artists do. So the fact that you can find some of that interesting and excellent and enjoyable is crazy. But mundane is still mundane, and not mundane isn't always exciting for that reason. So there's where that's kind of element still in there, where you're playing with fire, so to say. Sometimes you get burned, so sometimes the mundane is just mundane, and you're kind of bored with it. And when you're trying to be an artist with telling the story. So that's how I feel, at least. But I still think it is a good movie for sure. You could enjoy it, especially if you really like I said, cinema or certain actors. But
or art style or deep story with that.
And there was
definitely a lot of pow, in it for sure.
Definitely had some good scenes with some shots and how they approach it. I think the one thing kind of related but not related with Tarantino is he said a director really has only got 10 good movies. So he actually said after he does his 10th movie, he's going to be done. So if you look into it, he's done 9 movies. So in a way, we will only probably see one more film from him. So that's what he said. So he's calculated stuff like Kill Bill's counted as one movie, and then he's got Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's his most recent. I have not seen that one yet, but there's a follow-up either out or coming out, and he is not directing it, but he's part of like the story and whatever. Somebody else is doing it, so he's not counting that, even though because he's not, like I said, directing. So he's got one more in him, so we'll see what the future holds for him. But that's what he basically says. He's like, so this was the catapult to his what I feel like pretty good career. I mean, there's some better than others. I think Pulp Fiction by far is probably the best one he's done, in my opinion. People like Kill Bill more. Fine, that be my guess. It is a good 2 movies together film, but I don't know. I think Pulp Fiction was just way more on par to what he kind of came out as, like this guy covering some crazy shit with the gimp and everything. Like that shit fucking wild, and just how he does it. So anyways, how you feeling about this one, Brian?
I'm going rating for
like rewatchability and connection.
Yeah, I'm going mid.
I'll go 32 degrees positive. So at this point, to sum it up, it's a great cult classic, great kind of film to watch. But it doesn't mean you're going to love it and going to always want to watch it. But I don't think you would be terribly disappointed if you watched it, as long as you get past like the first 20 minutes. If you can get past that, it will pick up. If you can't, then you might not like it. Because like I said, that's basically how my first experience was. And so I was like, this is supposed to be an awesome movie. This is supposed to be a Tarantino movie. And so I tried it again. I was like, okay, I saw why. That story is really fucking good. That's where the sustenance is. That and the dialogue. that's what it is. So it doesn't always get reflected in the other parts. So as long as you get by that, I think you will be pretty pleasant.
It took you like 4 or 5 times to get through.
It took me twice. The first time I didn't finish it because I was also a teenager. Teenagers with a slow film is hard to always get into.
That's very true.
And then the second time I watched it, this would have been my third time. So, no, I definitely did the second. Because I remembered, I was like, oh, yeah, he's the cop and stuff like that. So I was like, how the fuck did I remember that? I was like, oh, yeah, because I probably was. And I remembered some stuff.
I mean, it was definitely better than Battlefield Earth. So.
Oh, and it was better than North, I would say as well.
Yes, I would probably say that.
No, not to try to trash anything, but no, it was a good watch, but definitely for adults kind of thing too.
Definitely an adult movie. I think as a teenager, like
you might
definitely not cater to that audience.
It would probably cater to like 5% of teenagers. Everything. I think most teenagers aren't inclined to do that, especially nowadays where they all have to be on a fucking phone. Nah, that ain't happening. So. All right, ready to rate this overall?
Yeah.
47% positive.
I'll go 31.3% positive.
All right. I mean, that's it for this one. It wasn't anything crazy, but like I said, it kind of reflects the film, right? I don't think anything crazy. It is what it is. So, I mean, if you enjoy listening to us, you can listen to us on Tuesdays with Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you want to enjoy these handsome devil mugs, you can watch us on YouTube on Thursdays. I am sometimes terrible with posting, and I apologize. But please, if you're listening, I appreciate you.
Talk shit to Kevin in the comments.
Please, you can tell me how shitty I am. I'm not a huge social media guy. I really am. I like watching reels, but that's about it. So that's how I work.
Have a good one, guys.
Peace out.
Peace.